I'm a bit wrapped up today because, well, I'm cold, to be honest. I'm just coming to the end of my log pile and I've got to eat them out now for another week. So I've decided not to put them on. And it's cold outside. I don't have electricity heating. I don't have gas heating in my house. It's all very frugal here. The cost of living crisis doesn't help, of course, and there'll be a lot of people in the same position as me who will be making that decision whether they're heating or eating. Pity anybody, of course, who's crossing the channel at the moment in a rubber dinghy. It must be very cold out there. Although actually, of course, you don't need to worry too much about them because they barely leave France coming across the channel, because the RLNI or the border force will be swiftly in there to pick them up and bring them into the warm with fresh blankets and then take them off to a lovely hotel or a theme park or wherever it is they go. I understand that soon people will be housing them in their own homes, which would be very nice, bed and breakfast style, probably making them a lovely English breakfast. Let's hope they don't complain about the service or anything like that. It does seem a very strange situation in which we're being invaded by people of, well, let's face it, they are of sort of military age, aren't they? Young men, mostly, between 20 and 30. You don't see the families of people coming across saying that they're migrants and that they desperately need of somewhere to live. It's odd, that, isn't it? I do find it very strange that men of military age, as I say, they all seem incredibly fit. If you took a cross-section of men in this country from that sort of age group, you would find that they were all different shapes and sizes. And some will be a bit overweight, and some will be, you know, very beefed up and what have you. And some will be as scrawny as anything. But when I've seen the pictures, and I gather we're not now allowed even to take photographs of them on the beach, if they're coming on the overseas in their dinghies and you happen to be on the beach and there they are, woe betide you take a photograph, because actually it's going to be a law being passed, I've heard. That does seem to be absurd. But if you do look at the pictures, they all seem to be pretty fit young men, which is a bit odd, and you wonder, why are they coming over here then? In that, it's almost as if they're it's almost as if they're invited. It does make me think that the money that we're spending and pushing over to France and giving them all these millions to sort of try and stop this invasion, maybe some of this money is actually spilling to the, this is pure speculation, of course, I'm not saying this is a fact in any shape or form, but it could be going to those people smugglers almost as if it's an invitation to bring them over. I mean, that's how it feels like sitting here near the coast myself, not actually the coast where they're coming. I'm a little bit further along, but I can feel the vulnerability of sitting here on the coast and thinking at any time any of these people who seem to be of military age could just come stepping up and bash on my door. Would be very demand to live here, demand to put their feet up on the sofa and be fed, which would be rather worrying. I don't really believe the cabinet anymore when they tell me things. I feel that they make things up. They plead that there's not much we can do. We're doing the best we can. We've passed this bill and we've passed that bill. But it's a bit like the old climate change people who keep saying, oh, the end of the world is nigh, the planet is warming, we're all going to die in a horrible agonising death. And then you go, well, where is it then? Come on, get on with it. And it doesn't happen. It seems to be the same with the government. They've been saying this for ages. Oh, we're going to get it all down to tens of thousands, only to realise that we're in millions of these people coming in, hundreds of thousands of them coming, and we don't know what to do with them. We don't know where to put them. It's very strange. And so I don't believe the government anymore. I was reminded of a quote from Tony Benn, the Labour Member of Parliament, who has since died now, but he made this very interesting statement. I'm going to paraphrase it somewhat here. And he said, being an MP is like the reverse of running a business. If you run a business, there's usually one boss and any number of employees. But being an MP, it's the opposite. You are the employee and there are any number of bosses, the bosses being the electorate, the voters who put them into power. And so theoretically, they can, if you're not doing a good job, they can get shot of you. He also said that once you're an MP and you're in the business, that power that's given to you is by loan. you're loaned that power. And when you finish, you have to return that to the electorate intact. It does seem that these members of parliament, these people, forget that this power has been on loan to them from the people. And yet, you know, during the Second World War, when we were threatened with invasion, we did something about it, didn't we? I mean, we could stop this very easily, stop this invasion, because the government and the parliamentarians are all throwing their hands up saying, what can we do? Well, get the Royal Navy out. Get the Royal Navy out, and as soon as they cross the line in their rubber dinghies, these migrants coming across, these invaders, say, no, sorry, push them back and keep pushing them back. Now, I don't want anyone to die or fall overboard, but if you're going to get into a shaky rubber dinghy and throw away your passport or any identification to say who you are, then why should we take them? Why should you come aboard? No, you've done that of your own volition. We haven't invited you. Go back. We could do that. We used to have a fantastic navy. We used to go around the world sailing around and saving all sorts of things. We abolished slavery with the Royal Navy. I don't understand why we're not doing the same now. Surely, and it couldn't be, not with a benevolent and kind government, that there's an ulterior motive, that actually they're being paid to come across. Surely that can't be right. Surely that they have no ulterior motive for having young men of military age coming into this country, being stationed all around in first-class hotels with lovely hot heating, so you don't have to be cold and worry about putting a log on the fire or when the next payment is due or whether you can eat instead of heat. Surely there can't be an ulterior motive. But by golly, we've seen what with the excess deaths being issued around and nobody prepared to talk about that in government, and things like digital ID coming down and a consultation which is only a matter of weeks and nobody knowing about it. And we know that the government could do something about these migrants because, let's face it, they managed to lock all of us down during the pandemic, didn't they? They managed to prevent us from going out anywhere. They had drones flying around making sure, and the police arresting old ladies on benches. They managed to do that, but for some reason, and I cannot fathom it, they will not stop these migrants coming. They just throw their hands in the air as if they can't do it. I wonder why that is. Surely there's not an ulterior motive and that they've been invited and they're just there waiting for something. That wouldn't be right. Maybe the government could actually do something about this, just to stop that sort of speculations, to stop the watering down of our culture and our traditions, to stop young women worrying about going out on the streets at night with people from a completely different culture harassing them and being around in their presence, or older people who are just not used to seeing so many young, fit, military-aged men speaking a different language and having a different outlook on life, being in their presence. I think it's an abhorrent situation, and I'm sure most people agree. But I don't know what we can do other than we've got some reason now, I think more than ever, to not trust either of the parties who happen to be in government at the moment. And maybe it's time the people said something about this to their MPs by petition in any obviously non-violent but vocal way to say enough is enough. We've loaned you that power and now we want it back.